Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. I'm Fitri Kartika Dewi and my friends Dewa Gede Saka Pratama. We are from group 5. Okay, first I will present about the discovery inquiry-based learning, especially regarding the definition of learning model and discovery inquiry-based learning, the characteristic of discovery inquiry-based learning, the objective of discovery inquiry-based learning, and the example of discovery inquiry-based learning. My friend Saka will continue the next presentation. Okay, the definition of learning model. Based on Tehir, the term learning model is often interpreted as a learning approach. Yet, sometimes the learning model is the same as the learning approach. The learning model is plan or pattern that is used as a guide in planning classroom learning. In other words, it is a planning model or pattern that we can use to design face-to-face teaching pattern in the classroom and to define learning material or tools including books, media, types, and curriculum. The types of learning models such as cooperative learning, discovery inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, and the project-based learning. In this presentation, the main focus will be on the discussion of discovery inquiry-based learning. Okay, the definition of discovery inquiry learning based on expert. In the first, according to Kahn and Raurke, inquiry-based learning is used as a general term to describe a learning approach that is driven by the inquiry process. Tutor assigns tasks and support or facilitate the process, but students pursue their own lines of inquiry, making use of existing knowledge and identify consequent learning needs. They seek evidence to support their idea and are responsible for analysis and presenting this appropriately, either as a part of a group or as individuals who are supported by others. Based on Usni, inquiry-based learning model is one of the learning models in the world of education. Inquiry-based learning is a series of learning activity that emphasize critical thinking process and analyze to find answer from concept to the problem in question. Based on Piaget cited in Husni, inquiry-based learning is a learning model that prepares students in a situation of behaving themselves to experiment widely to see what is happening, want to do something, ask questions and find their own answer, and connection their finding with another conclusion, compare what was found with what other students found. Inquiry-based learning is sometimes called inquiry-based instruction learning, which as scientific step are a learning scenario. This learning model is a direct so that students master of the concept knowledge through answering questions. Export are made through the process of exploration, data processing, and drawing conclusion. Inquiry is basically behavior that is closely attached to human nature. Everyone carries out the investigation process from birth to death. Its original even through a identity relationship. According to Kesselman, inquiry-based learning is a learning strategy wherein in the process of forming understanding by students, the same method and practice when professional scientists by knowledge are carried out on students. Inquiry-based learning can be defined as a form of hypothesis formulation and testing by conducting experiment and observation in order to find new cause and effect relationship. Based on Pedaste Serampu, inquiry-based learning is defined as strategy in learning that emphasizes problem-solving skill to find solution in learning. The Zhangpeng Joiling state that student active participation in emphasized in the strategy where they are required to be responsible for discovering new knowledge for their own comprehension. According on Wilhelm and Bayes-Wiesen, in the inquiry-based learning process, students must be able to learn on their own in building knowledge both individually and deductively by conducting experiments to investigate the relationship between the sciences being solved. In conclusion, inquiry-based learning is a form of active learning that starts by asking questions, problems, or scenarios. Inquiry-based learning is often assisted by a facilitator. Inquiry-based learning includes problem-based learning and is commonly used in investigation and small-scale projects as well as research. Inquiry-based instruction in principle is closely related to the development and practice of thinking and problem-solving skills. The characteristic of discovery inquiry-based learning. According to Kant and Ryoriki, the characteristic of inquiry-based learning are as follows. The first, engagement with a complex problem or scenario which is open enough to allow for multiple response or solution. The second one, student direct the question and method use. Third, inquiry requires students to make use of existing knowledge and identify their required learning needs. 4. The task stimulates student curiosity, encouraging them to actively explore and seek new evidence. 5. The responsibility falls on students to analyze and present the evidence in appropriate manner and to support their own response to the problem. In addition, there are 5 characteristics of inquiry-based learning, namely process-focused investigation, group learning, discussion monitoring, and real-life application. In the first, process focus. When students solve problems on their own, they internalize the conceptual process. Inquiry-based teaching prioritizes process over product. The second, investigation. The teacher may raise problems that stem from class concept or student question. The student then investigates the problem to find the answer. Third, group learning. Students can work in pairs or small groups while exploring a problem. Students assess each other throughout the learning process, allowing them to share and construct an idea and articulate how to repeat a solution. 4. Monitoring the discussion. When students work together, the teacher can move from group to group listening to their discussion. The teacher can ask questions to help students understanding and correct any misunderstanding. 5. Real-life application. Students solve problem given by the teacher. We have meaningful life application. For example, a teacher may present a multiplication from an interesting story. Bradley has 2 bags or candy. Each bag has 4 candies in. How many candies does Bradley have? The objectives of discovery inquiry-based learning. According to Beppevino, Dangel, and Adam, Chiti, and Usni, some very important things from inquiry-based learning, namely inquiry learning, emphasize the maximum activity of students to seek and discover, meaning that the inquiry approach places students as learning subject. In the learning process, students not only act as a recipient of lesson through verbal explanation by the teacher, but they also have a role in finding the core of their own subject. The second one, all activities carried out by students and directed to look for and find themselves something that is questionable so that it is expected to foster an attitude of self-confidence. This means that in the inquiry approach, the teacher is positioned not as a learning result but as a facilitator and motivator for student learning. Learning activities are usually carried out through a question and answer process between the teacher and student, as well the ability of the technical teacher to act in an important requirement in conducting investigation. And the third, the objective of using the inquiry learning model is to be develop intellectual abilities as part of mental process. As a result, in inquiry learning, students are not only required to master the lesson, but how they can use their potential. Okay, the example of discovery inquiry-based learning. According to Ismail, a learning environment rich in learning material will result in productive inquiry classes that are able to increase enthusiasm and stimulate students to learn. Also, a good inquiry strategy must be able to answer student curiosity. Therefore, various media must be prepared in this class, including reading material in the form of book and the internet. Because in this strategy, students will learn to collect their own data for their comprehension. For further discussion, The following are examples of media strategies that can be applied in inquiry class. In the first, web quizzes. Based on Ismail, good web quizzes must be able to provide freedom for students to actively participate in learning. Most of the web quiz sources come from the internet, which allows students to develop an understanding in the front of solution to a problem that they will present and implement. A good web quiz from such according to Clark, cheating in Israel in the first activities that stimulate collaboration in students. In the second one, motivating students. Okay, the second one is mini quizzes. It is an online module that contains instruction for building critical thinking and knowledge construction so that students are able to provide questions in their means. An example of the activity in that students are asked to play a role such as being a journalist and must make report on learning that is taking place as a product based on inquiry. And the third, project pegs. This media is usually used when teaching with a long and complex curricular sequence where students will collect and collaborate on as many web research as they can find with the aims of simulating more interesting learning process. This example of media can be used in both face-to-face and remote learning method. Thus, they will also fit into the educational condition. Okay, that's all from me. My friend Saka will continue the next presentation.